Hey guys, welcome back to the SBP Podcast Mobile Filmmaking. I'm your host, Susy Botello, and you're listening to episode 206.
We are Fade into Film.
Hey Joey, how are you? How was October and how is November treating you?
I'm starting the month off with food poisoning, but I'll be recovering from it and I'll be good.
You literally just told me that like 4 minutes ago and I forgot about it already.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Well, I'm really sorry about the food poisoning. How's everything else going? You won an award. I've seen that you won more than one award actually. So you're the star of the day, star of the show.
Oh, no, I think, well, obviously if this was recorded earlier,
right.
What I was saying, like I said, like I'm not a big person on social media, but like this time around, I believe that I was, I let myself celebrate what we've been doing for a while, and and it's because it's not just the director, right? Like it takes an entire team to make a short film, and like for the longest time, I think I'm being humble and not celebrating myself or my work, but that also kind of forgets all the other people that put their hard work in there. So this year, I was very much practicing gratitude. And I think I wanted to say that earlier too. Like this is the first time I think I made a conscious effort to practice gratitude.
That is cool.
to be thankful for everyone that helped out in our short films. And if you guys want to see the films, there's one. It's like the vertical noir that I was talking about many times before. It's called Gunslinger Mary. It's on our website on Art School Dropouts, YouTube.com/Art School Dropouts, or just check it out on our website, artschooldropouts.com. And the other one is with this actor named Jose Manuel, who is he's been in a few feature films recently. Like he was the lead for The Man for Kathmandu. He was one of the characters in was it The Fist of Condor? That was like with Mark Zoror. Marco Zoror. And it's called Fist of Condor. Original title El Puño del Condor, I guess.
Yeah. I think I've heard of that.
Yeah. Because he was one of the bad guys in the John Wick movies. He's like the bodyguard or something that,
Nice.
So he's been a good friend of ours, and we haven't been able. It's kind of funny actually. Many years ago when I first met him and we were talking, and he was always saying like, "Hey, whatever you're doing, like trust me, it works. It works on a higher scale. Like you just have to believe in yourself, right?"
Yeah. And
fast forward many years later, I'm here, and I was able to validate myself to know like, oh my gosh, like the stuff that we do actually does work on a bigger production and a bigger scale, right? And he was one of the inspirations that we had, and we finally got to work with him. I mean, obviously, we made a little short film. It wasn't really that big. Like it's not that big in terms of the grand scheme of things, but like it was really fun to have him in front of my camera.
I mean, that's quite an honor. And you said that's not finished yet, or?
Oh, actually, we finished that. I mean, we finished that a while back, and we premiered it at the film festival, and we won a couple awards for it, like best action and like action comedy and stuff like that. And people seem to appreciate it, which is good. I mean, appreciate enough that the judges gave us like we won 3 awards, right?
That's
for that.
So cool. I remember when you were winning 7.
No, there was like a lot of good people. There's like a lot of great like projects this year, and I'm honestly happy I didn't have to go. This sounds douchey, but it's nice not to walk up there like 7-10 times, and it's like, okay, this seems
You're
like,
like half
like,
sitting there. Okay, wait, hold on. Next. But
oh
still,
my gosh.
that's still pretty epic though to walk out of there with 3 awards.
Yeah,
You
like
know?
it was nice, definitely, but I think it's the short films that I wanted. I mean, like I just wanted people to see the work that we did and like the direction that we were trying to go to, and I was really happy for that. And I'm proud. Like I'm proud, and I want to celebrate in my team, and and that was the first time. That's why on my social media, people were like following me. Like that's the first time I really bombarded the stories with all these things.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
watching so many, and not only there, but on other networks as well. So,
Yeah.
I mean, the ones that I catch you in, I don't have them all.
Yeah.
And that's actually pretty cool for both you and Stephanie and your
Mhm.
team. So, congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much.
Joey, where would you say, speaking of those things that we were just talking about, where do you get these ideas from when it comes to making movies?
Mm. Wow, that's a good question. I think personally, for me, um, I I do have stories. I think the stories that I have that I guess I see a particular thing, and I either I see things in a different way, and I just want to tell them. I want to tell a perspective that I
Ah,
have on certain things. I suppose, like I guess, like sir, okay, like let me think of like one of the most weirdest stuff that we've done.
awesome. I love weird.
Oh, okay, maybe not too weird, but I had this concept before that it's not like it hasn't been done before, but it's not done a lot.
Yeah.
But long time ago, I made this pitch idea, or I made a pitch like video. Basically, it was called Samurai Gunman. What if like I mixed Japanese chambara with like the Wild West kind of like cowboy gunslinger movies,
Yeah.
and I just mashed that together.
And what is Japanese kambata?
Chambara,
Shambata.
it's like a period like sword play, like
Oh,
so
okay.
samurai old style, like like say if let's what if like the old samurai movies, but we're done in like as a spaghetti western kind of almost kind
Right.
of thing,
Right.
which is kind of cool now I really think about it. That's like three, like it's like the Italians trying to make a western, but I put like Japanese flair to it, but we also do kung fu kind of thing, so it's kind of like it's a mix
That
of
is cool.
everything,
Yeah.
right? And I mean, obviously at this point in time, it's not like we had a lot of resources yet and whatnot, but we did the best we can, and it's one of those things that I guess would kind of like popped off on our channel or something, because I guess the concept is kind of cool.
Yeah.
There's many ideas that like that seems like a random idea, but it is one of I got the idea from, because I do love watching old Japanese films and westerns and spaghetti
So
westerns,
it's kind
really.
of like that in a way, right? It's kind of like the what if, right, idea of filmmaking. Like, what if you took this and added that, with cooking, right?
Right.
So it's kind of like that, which pretty much, I mean, I like that kind of way of getting ideas, though, because I think that's like one of the simplest form of play that we do since we were little kids, right? What if we're all in the back seat of a car, right? What if this was a boat? What if this was a spaceship? You know what I mean? Make the ride less boring.
But like like other, I think like certain filmmakers, it's nice to see how other people have different perspective on
Mm-hmm.
things, or the way that they could twist it. Like I think what's Lenny Kravitz's daughter's name?
Oh, I just
Zoe
read about,
Kravitz.
yes, I just read
Oh,
about something about her too.
yeah, what's that movie she made? Oh my gosh,
I think that's the
some
one that I did she just make it?
did
Because
she just make it, or is it the one with Channing Tatum, right?
Yeah. I'm trying to
Yeah.
remember the name of that movie because I know exactly because I just read that thing. It's just,
Let me look it up. I'm sorry because I want to make sure.
yep.
Oh, Blink Twice.
Yes.
Right. Oh, apparently, I think they were that was in production a while or something, but it's something's a bunch of holdups. But anyways, yeah, like that, like going into all the press release and press materials, like how she was talking about how her perspective of it, right? Like it would only come from, I guess, from a person like her who had
Had that
families within,
experienced.
yeah, like families inside Hollywood, and there were kids, and they see people, like she grew up in it, right? So she would see like the power dynamics of people, like even certain things about it too, like it's close to there was like this thing where her dad had like this red velvet chair
Mm.
that he would have it at his like island or something or whatever
Yeah.
it was. And she kind of used that too in the movie, where there's like the main antagonist, I guess.
Yeah.
Like is he has like a thinking chair where he had people actually bring that chair everywhere for him to just sit down in and like think on or something. It's something crazy like that. But
Yeah.
and and that's something that I would never be able to write because I don't know what the fuck like.
Yeah, but she has that perspective which is shaped from experience, which is like not like the perspective of a witness, right? Where they just see something,
Exactly.
but something that she's able to formulate into insight, from
Yes.
the inside,
Right.
so.
But but I think that's what I'm saying. I think it's kind of cool, right? Because like obviously, I think a lot of inspiration that a lot of filmmakers have is from their own perspectives, own hopes, dreams. Maybe like all of that, and you just mash it all together, and you create a story that only you can tell. And I know that seems kind of redundant. I know everybody says that, but it is kind of true. Like the way that I see spaghetti westerns might not be the way that somebody else sees it, right? And everybody has their own interpretation, and all of them are viable if you think about it, right?
They're also like I just keep remember Aris Tyros. He was in our film festival in 2017 and he won, I think he won first or third prize. Pick the best one, Ari. But he won that in a film called How I Became a Movie Theater Murder. And he did that really well. But the idea of how he made that film came from basically a movie theater was attacked by a shooter. Whenever that Batman movie came out, the one with Heath Ledger and all that.
Oh, yeah, I do remember. Yeah, well, what happened? Like, I do remember hearing about that, but I don't know much
so
about
that
it.
incident, I mean, it was big, huge news. And Ari lives in Canada. And he heard about that and it stuck with him, right? And so he went to a movie theater with his mom. And all of a sudden he started going, okay, what if that were to happen here because of that event? And he was doing this, oh my God, what if it would happen here? Like, what would I do? And how would I protect my mom? And blah, blah, blah. And all this stuff. And he thought, the fact that I just did that might be a pretty good movie. And so he created this film. It's a short film. And he narrates himself, his thinking of, I'm going to go to a theater. And if there's a shooter there, I'm going to protect everybody type thing. And so he prepares himself for it. I mean, he literally does workouts and everything because he's going to save the movie theater from the next shooter. I'm laughing. I mean, it's a little bit of a comedy or whatever, but that's where he got the idea from. He was just sitting in the theater waiting for, this film to start, and he got that idea because of this real life thing. So, I mean, that's a creative way. Like it doesn't have to be one direct shot into, I was here and this idea came and then I made my movie, right? I myself have had a couple of dreams that went from beginning to end. They were movies. And I was like, man, I'd like to make this movie at some point, because I've already seen it. Plot twists and everything. It was so weird. But that's another way of making movies. But you yourself, I mean, you mentioned that one, but what about, I mean, you probably create, you're so creative. What can I say? And a lot of the stuff seems random, but it all comes from somewhere, right? And you guys are frequently recording things. Like, where do all those ideas come from for you, Joey?
Well, so I don't know if this is what other people do, but I guess I've been writing not full scripts, but at least I guess you would call them treatments, I suppose.
Yes.
I've been, and they're not really treatments either. They were kind of like just stories or whatever that I've had, but I've been writing stuff since I was in high school, and I just kind of have saved them. And luckily for me, I've been a techie, I guess, this entire time. So I've had all of these stories that I've written in a lot of like online like storage sites or like some blog post or something, and I just kind of collect them, and I'm kind of cashing in on them now. Like but also, reading something that I've written when I was like 16, and now I'm like way older than that, and like reading it, I'm like, wow, that's either really cringy or something, or I have a different perspective on things. And sometimes I can also still feel the childish naivete, like I guess that I wrote something and I'm like, oh, okay, I remember how that feels, and I think I understand the concept, and I try to like distill my messages into like the quintessential idea of what the story is, and I kind of build something around that, so I guess that's the thing too,
Yeah.
right? I guess I'm just lucky that I guess I've always been writing. Yeah, I guess, yeah, that's the thing. I guess that's why we have a lot of stuff, or just things are just funny. I think a lot of reading and I just consumed a lot of media growing up too, and for everything from reading to watching to movies. I worked all around the world. I've seen a lot of different perspectives in terms of culture, and met a lot of people, which probably helped me kind of write the way that I write or put together things.
Yeah. I think also another way that people learn people use this to get their ideas from too is from answering questions. Like a question comes up and you don't really know the answer to it, and you start investigating that and getting curious over it. And then for some reason you realize that something that was just sort of curious is, wow, that's super curious. And maybe other people, may be wondering about that too. And sometimes the challenge of finding the answer to something leads you down into, that's where like documentaries, for example, kind of come from, like answering a question, and then the challenge of finding that answer can bring you down to discover and appeal a story that was buried that might be interesting now,
Right. Because I think that's a thing too. I think someone told me a long time ago in one of these film festivals, what they thought about myself and my group is that we take a joke and we like run with it as far as we can. And I kind of like that concept, like if that makes sense. Cause like,
yeah,
just, like listening to what you're saying and, thinking about like, very amazing films that I've watched in my life. Like I really love Inception, right? That's the whole, like the idea of
Inception.
Yes, Inception. Yeah. Right? Like the idea that it's a movie about dreams because, dreams are kind of like movies, right? Like how you know what I mean?
Right.
Like how they said like scenes would just start. You don't see how you get there. It just kind of like cuts and transitions into, and it's really cool, right?
Yep. I agree.
Because I think there's a sketch, and I think that's the thing too. Like being on YouTube, when we're forced to make sketches, I don't want to say forced, but like obviously, keep up on the schedule, and you have a deadline, and
You're
trying to
forced.
be.
If you want to
Kind of forced,
succeed
yeah.
in some way there, right?
Right. What was it? There was this one. Okay, so we were filming this one short film before, and like Steph and Angela, they had like bruised makeup on their face, right? And we went to and we needed to like just get some drinks or something. So we went to like a convenience store, like a 7-Eleven, and
Yeah.
people were looking at them,
Yeah.
and they're looking at me, and I'm like, wait, I didn't beat them or anything like that, right?
They're like, Joey, what did you do to them?
Right. But then, like, it was like the idea. I was like, I was telling this story, and I was like, oh my god, if people would think like,
Yeah.
and they would say something like, oh, I like, like a door hit me, right, or something, like I'm not making fun of that, but then we have this series of videos on our channel that it's actually one of my favorite sketches, but there's actually like it's a continuing sketch, but it doesn't happen like all at once, where that I ran with that joke. It's like I had a friend, and she, like the whole joke was like this girl, and she's like, "Oh, a door hit me," because she looks like she had a black eye, and I'm like, okay, and it turns out her boyfriend is a door, so I beat him up and everything, or something like that. But then it like and like as so like subsequent videos after that, it gets darker and darker, where like I beat up this whatever,
Yeah.
this door, and he tries to come back, and then I accidentally kill him, and then I had to like dismantle him because I have to like hide the body.
Oh gosh.
And it's and it just gets darker and darker, but I think it's funny to me.
Because you're trying to take it, you're trying to carry it through.
Yeah. Because I have this, and the thing is that we have a third video of that is like, I'm not sure if I should ever release, because it's like probably too far, but we actually did finish it and have the voice actor and everything. I'm like, I don't think I should ever release this, right? But it gets way darker. So
That's funny. But yeah, like I think that's actually one of the funnest parts is like saying, I mean, there's two ways of making films, right? From a long time ago, way back in my day when I started the film festival, where I would ask people at the film festival, to do the workshops, why not? They made movies. And I remember Robert David Duncan. Whew. So glad to be able to bring up a name that you don't know, you've never heard of, right, Joey? So Robert David Duncan said he made a little movie because he was sitting. It was Mr. Sad's Happy Face or Mr. Happy's Sad Face, something like that. Basically, he was on a bus and he had his phone, and there was a little sad face with a heart. There was a shape of a heart in the little sad face, and it was right on the window, right? It was raining outside. And so it was right on the window. He was looking at that the whole trip, like this little sad face. So he recorded that on the train window with everything going by, and he turned that into a bit of a movie, and a message. And he said sometimes the stories that we find as mobile filmmakers are stories that come to us and we just happen to have the camera with us. And we can literally turn that into a story as it unfolds in front of you, like from your imagination, making a connection with something, Kind of like in the same way a photographer, in street photography takes photos, right? Where they see stories in images or something. And as a mobile filmmaker, you can go a step further than that and literally create a short film while you just happen to be out and about but encountered something. I think that comes from like saying, I'm sure you played this game where you see pictures in the clouds.
Mm-hmm.
And
you just kind of...
Yeah, and it's kind of like that, but like you're in everyday life and you see stories in the moments, right, that you can capture with a phone.
Right. I mean, yeah, because like how, some people might never see that perspective or that angle ever, right? Unless you capture it. And I think there's something really beautiful with that.
Yeah, and you can put them onto... I mean, I think one of the things that I've noticed in mobile filmmaking as opposed to other filmmaking is how many films are considered experimental films because of the way they started out. They didn't really start out with a narrative. You know what I'm saying? And some people, we have that category in our film festival because there might be a genre that you've literally discovered that you don't know where else it fits, So we just call it experimental because you were experimenting. And look at what turned out. Something cool and special came out of it,
Yeah. Because like experimental, it could mean a lot of things. You could be experimenting various aspects of the filmmaking process. And that's I think that's okay to explore, right? And show people. Maybe it might elicit something creative in some other people, that might just really push an idea going,
Yeah. Why do you think we make films, Joey?
I think inherently as a tribal type of society that we are, I guess like storytelling is a very big part of like I think passing on our stories is, even though now the word meme is also a meme, right? It's like the idea of like if genes are passed on biologically, like memes are passed on by society, right? And and there was a point in time when our civilization, before civilizations, everything was like oral history, right? You would have like these speakers or something like in every tribe that would like they would hear the stories from the previous generation. They have to remember that to pass on the knowledge to the young, to the next generation and whatnot, right? And I think inherently that's why we make films, right? Like we need to pass on our knowledge or ideas or something, our perspective to other people, so we can, while, like my movies, I make my movies now and I'll die in, however many years. And so who knows, maybe in 100 years, there's like people that would still connect with what I'm saying. And that just kind of makes us what humans are,
I think a story never dies. Once even so, let's say you invent your own story that only you can tell, right? Once it's out there, though, it's like people build on that, from that story. It's almost like a treasure.
Because there's always like it's the knowledge in there, right? Like when we're people before, like the hero's journey could have many, like telling a story that way can give hope, can give knowledge. It's useful, and entertainment and everything. Like telling stories is such a big part of human society and human civilization that it's no matter what, I think till the end of time will be always be like I think it's also that, right? Like because we can't live forever,
right?
And the whole idea of passing down our knowledge is such a big part inherently for our species that's why we probably do it. It just seems that maybe movies now is just one way. It's a big way to do it, right?
It's also the connection, I think, between us that we all have is through the stories. Like we tell stories, but then later in life we realize, oh, we're telling stories. It's like walking. Like, were people walking before the word walking was invented? Of course, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same thing with stories. It's like, because I feel sometimes like I'm constantly trying to convince someone to do something, right? And one of the things that I'm trying to convince people to do is like to make movies, take their stories and turn them into films. And a lot of people say, well, I'm not a storyteller. And I'm like, you were literally born a storyteller. You know what I'm saying? And they don't realize that they're telling stories every day.
Yeah, I think then I guess that's where the art of filmmaking comes in, right? I think everyone has a story. I think everyone can tell a story, but it's also the art of executing and how telling that story is what makes the craft.
The creativity is the art, like how you're going to turn that.
Yeah,
through.
like the execution, how you would want to tell that art, right? Because like I said, I do think everyone has a great story within them, right? But like if they're not versed in vocabulary or something, like how can you tell this story, right, without sounding boring? I guess that's the idea, right?
Well, and there's so in that act of creating a film from a story, yes, there's the art part, but there's also this technical part that if you're completely unaware of it, it makes it hard for you to tell the story creatively. Like, for example, if you don't know how to turn on a camera, you know what I'm saying? You're not going to be able to record these things. But it's just like, it's a need that it's a marriage between this technical scientific side and the artsy creativity thing that people forget is also you educate yourself in through experience and practice, but there's also talent. And that's like, that's another sphere like that we can't grasp in this podcast. It's just really, really deep. It's like how talent in itself, right? Because we see it and we know it's there, but it's the fact that there are so many people who their talents are hidden. They're not even aware that they have them. Because they don't use them. They haven't, it's not about exploiting them. It's not about, it's about experiencing, being put in a situation, like you put kids in a classroom and you say, today we're going to learn about this, right? And tomorrow we're going to learn about that. Well, today something came up that, holy cow, these kids had no idea even existed. And now 3 of them are going to major in this one thing when they get out of college or whatever,
Mm-hmm. That's yeah. Thing like that, yeah.
So it's kind of like that in a way for talent. Like everyone's got talents. They just don't know what they are. And so we're kind of told as kids, try as many things until your parents stop buying instruments or leasing them. Try the trumpet, try the guitar, try the piano, try the, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And out of there somewhere comes, Eddie Van Halen or something, right?
Yeah. That's what it is, right?
Yeah. It's almost like you've got to experiment. And I think storytelling is, it's 1, 2, 3.
What if it's not even talent? What if it's just like the love of something? Like, like I know some people be naturally aspirated to do something, but like, what if it's just like somebody just fell in love with something and they just dedicated like a lot of their time to it and they just became the best simply because of the love.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's the language of love, right?
I suppose.
Like, and the language of film is through that, I think, too. Like, how do you tell the story? Part of the reason why we make films, right, is because we love to make films. But you don't know that you love to make films. Let's face it, Joey, if all the films that you made would get like your friends to go, Joey, that's crap. That's awful. We hate it. That would put a damper on you. Like when it comes time, you going, I got this great idea. I don't know if I should make the film because everybody tells me I make bad films. Like, how would you handle that?
Look, I feel like I just kept on doing it.
There you go.
Like obviously the first few hundred things that I've ever done like was not good. Like the shit I'm making now is not good. I still think so, right? I just know that I've given myself time and understood things a little bit better, so it's more cohesive and stuff. So sure, it might be better than it would used to be, but it's still not good,
Yeah.
right? And it's not like I've had people tell me like from the very start, like, "Oh, that's terrible. Like, you shouldn't do that or something. You're like, you'll never make it. Like, you should stop doing what you're doing now. You're never gonna make anything of what you're doing." Like I've had that,
Yeah.
and and no one knows his name, and I'm here, so and it's the same thing. It's like that's why I kind of had this thing before where I would say to people, it's like like the first film syndrome, right? You always think that your first film is always going to be like this amazing thing,
Yeah.
It's not. It's really not, because you never put the time in. It's like people, when people would say something like, "Oh, I could write a book if I just, sat down and just have the time
Just
to do it."
applied myself.
Like, no, you don't. Like, you're gonna tell me you could write a book like over somebody that dedicated their entire career on writing a book? Like, no, it doesn't work that way, right? You still have to put the time in. You might have everybody has amazing stories, and that's the thing too. Like, as a filmmaker, I'm sure that everyone has, once they're doing something and you're making something and people are noticing it, and oh, like, that's actually really good. Then you have people like, "Oh, I have this really great idea. Oh, what is it? Oh yeah, you should do a movie about pasta." You're like, "Okay, what about it?" "Oh, I don't know. That's just make a movie about pasta." Like, and stuff like
Yeah.
that's like the dumbest. Like, okay, there's not, everyone has an idea,
Yes.
right? But like, obviously it's the whole putting the work in. Like, what about it? Like, it's the all of the details within it, the small details. That's what makes the movie making or the filmmaking art, right? So yeah, like,
And
I
just
guess
seeing
like
the
talent without,
progression of what was not there to what is now there because of what you did. Right? I mean, in simplest terms, that's such a human thing. Like just
right.
watching those little videos of like somebody putting writing on a cake or something. I don't know. You're just sitting there going, "Wow, look at that." And you're watching it on a loop. And it's that feeling of just watching something from nothing turn into something.
Oh, okay, that's what you mean.
Yeah. And then you are watching that, but you actually created that. Like you're doing it. Sometimes we do things, and we're like, "Why are we doing this?" And it's the process. It's the process. And I think that's part of why people make movies. They love the process of it. We were talking in our last episode about the different faces and, what makes the dream. And I guess in a way, this is a little bit connected to that too, because why we make films and where we get our ideas from. I mean, all these things are connected. And I think like it's a creative outlet for us. That's healthy, for us to do things like that, get out of our heads creatively, as opposed to just wallowing into, like all kinds of bad things that could be happening around us, right? Having important conversations that come to light, because we shared this idea and turned it into a movie, and now people are talking about something they weren't before, right, Joey? Because you were talking about that, from the beginning of time, and that, in a way, it's kind of like how we educated ourselves is through stories. That was the probably first class, right, ever invented, was some person standing out there telling a story, right?
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
And then the teamwork. I mean, I always think it's like the ultimate teamwork in filmmaking.
I suppose.
I mean, if you think about it, because everybody's so dedicated to it, everybody's super devoted to it, you know, to making it happen. There's just something about movie making that brings out the best of us when we're on set. I think that what I've experienced on working on films, that kind of that people really knock themselves out to make something happen, and you see them light up. It's not just my scientific and my experience and my everything I've done in another set. There's like this spontaneous creativity that happens on film sets, especially
yeah. I think it also
when
takes
things
like
go wrong.
yeah, I think it takes a specific like the perfect people coming together for that perfect blend for that perfect project kind of thing to see that really really explode.
I don't know,
you know,
I would say perfect, but almost.
think
It's
so?
about as close as perfect as you can get.
Yeah.
You know, because it's just the way that things come together. You know, everybody comes together
Yeah, exactly.
to make the impossible dream, right? To make it happen. And it's
But
all
at the
an
same
illusion at the same time.
Yeah.
Right?
But at the same time, it's kind of like a shared trauma.
Yes.
Like everybody goes through this BS, you know,
There's-
and you come out like, oh my God, I can't believe we got out of that.
There's
And, like, I
lonely
can't wait to do that
drama
again.
and there's
Oh, yeah.
shared drama.
Yeah.
I'll take the shared, right?
Yeah.
We're all
that's,
in this together, crying and suffering and freezing or whatever.
Yeah. No, I think that's funny. I honestly think that's funny.
Which part?
Like it's really. We're Stockholm syndrome with a project.
Yes.
And then once we get out of it like alive, we're all happy and we're like, oh, I can't wait to do that again.
Woohoo, right?
And that's
Yeah.
that's filmmaking.
I like that. I mean, I think that's attractive to some people, and why for some people they go, "Wow, I thought I would like it, but there was so much suffrage in the process, right?" You know, and
I think I remember this one particular person I've met a long time ago, like early on, right, making
Yeah.
movies, and it was on somebody else's set, and this person never acted before, never did anything, just had like this weird expectations of what like filmmaking would be at like a local level. They were like, "Oh, I didn't think it would be this low budget." I'm like, "The hell, dude! Like, you're not a good actor. I don't know what you were expecting. Like, you know,
they were expecting the Disney version of the behind the scenes.
Yeah, or something like that."
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, you know, you go on film sets and you get like some people think it's like very eccentric and very, in a way, glamorous too, right? And then they go there and they're like, "Why is everybody covered in mud?" You know,
Right?
Why is everybody like running into the RV freezing their ass off, right?
Yeah, that was it.
Yep. It's like, guys, it's movie making. It's magical though.
That's what it is.
Escapism, teamwork, community. Build your career skills on a film set.
I mean, it's, you know, it's a good making a movie. It's a good microcosm of what is to be in a community, in a society, right?
Yes.
I think it's awesome.
It's the best career of all careers.
Oh God. Go into finance, people. Don't go into filmmaking.
Oh, I just, you know what though? Seriously, have you ever not been on a set where there's somebody, a production manager, or somebody that says that person was definitely not born to make movies, to be on set, and they're just sitting in a corner like miserable, like what the hell did I just get myself into?
That means that person has never finished the project.
Yeah. Like, how could you not get involved? I mean, and we're talking about independent filmmaking. Hollywood is a little different. You stay there in your area and you do your little thing and then you leave, go away. They don't, you know. But independent filmmaking is it's love, right? I mean, there's so much passion. Everybody that's there for the most part really 100% wants to be there.
Yeah, I mean that's what it is, right? Because I think there's a certain point, I guess, when you go in, like, specialities, when you're working professionally or whatever. I think you know what you like to do, and when you become a unit person, if that's what you want to do, that's what it is. But I think, like, if you've never actually been part of creating a movie and actually finish a movie or a project or a short film or whatever, where you actually had like a good, I guess, even with your friends, where you're technically above the line, I guess you could say that, you will never understand the love it is to make a film. I think, because there is something about completing a project as daunting as a film, or like the concept of it. Like, you take something that is not tangible, that wasn't real, and you bring it to life into this world, and now people can see it. I think that's a very powerful,
beautiful thing, right? To be able to do that. That's one of the reasons why I like art so much, is that creation that of something that wasn't there before. I mean, it was, but not like this. You know what I'm saying? Like, there it is, it's there, but no one can see it until you turn it into a film.
Right.
And you feel it. You feel it. You feel people, you fall in love with characters that you just met 30 minutes ago. And by the middle of the movie, you're like crying for them. It's a very powerful thing. And it's not like filmmakers walk around going, I got the power, look what I did, but they don't do that. But they inside, they're like, there's that story that started out from this little sprinkle of nothingness, right? Just a little spark where I got this idea, and now all of a sudden here it is, it's a film, and it's touching people. It's connecting with people. It's making people talk about something. It's making people think about something. It's making people feel for each other in a way they didn't before. Anyways, I've got a lot of hope. On a positive note for filmmaking. Joey.
Yes.
My voice is a little down and out because it's been a very long day. So I just wanted to explain that to you and to everybody who's listening. I do sound tired because I kind of am. But I really enjoyed this conversation. Is there anything that you think we should add to it?
I guess something to leave everybody off. Like, guys, like, I think one thing I've learned this past week is I think that practicing gratitude, I think it takes effort to actually practice being grateful for the people around you, for the things around you, for the things that you've done, and for yourself. And I think the more you do it, the more that I think you can change your perspective and have a better view on the world around you. That's my thing. That's what I learned. I don't know. That has nothing to do with filmmaking.
It has everything to do with filmmaking. That's how you stay persistent and keep going. Don't give up.
That's true, I guess.
Yeah. No. And speaking of being appreciative, appreciate your crew. Appreciate the people that come together to make sure that it happens. And then you can celebrate together with Joey and Stephanie.
Exactly.
All right. Say goodbye to our listeners.
All right. See you guys.